Welcome to the Fourth Step Podcast. On each episode, we interview recovering addicts and learn their story with addiction. Through exploring personal journeys, we get a glimpse of the depths addicts fall to and their path in recovery. We hope you enjoy the episode. Welcome to the Fourth Step Podcast. My name is Kevin. I'm an addict, and with us is our guest.
I'm Joey. I'm an addict.
Hi, Joey.
Actually, I'm an addict named Joey. I typically like to go principles of four personalities, but addict named Joey.
You're really getting complicated with that. Yeah.
Well, you know.
You're a complicated person. Let's keep it simple.
I'm an addict and an addict. How about that one?
Yeah, all right. Yeah, that one. Unfortunately, Josh is not here. We're on location out in Arizona, just outside Phoenix.
Peoria, to be exact.
Peoria. I'm out here on a job, and so we thought we'd do a couple recordings of podcasts, and Joey was willing to sit in today.
Sweet.
Appreciate that.
Thank you, Rob.
So first of all, we know each other because you're originally from California.
Right.
And you're from the Sierra Foothills area.
Correct.
And that's where you grew up.
Right. And we shared a home group for a long time.
That's right, huh?
The Folsom Men's Meeting.
Yeah.
And it was definitely just a really good experience on getting to know each other and serving together. And really, I mean, it was a men's meeting. So, you know, we just got, like the fourth step, got down and dirty on a weekly basis.
Did you find people get have opinions about like single topic meetings, like men's meeting or a women's meeting? I mean, I hear people go, well, that goes against traditions or something. Whatever. That's just people's opinions, but
very, very seldomly do I know of people that have opinions about that. It's typically certain people, but personally, me, I recently just started going to a different men's meeting than I was going to.
Yeah.
In Tucson.
Yeah.
The one I was going to, it just seemed like the old timers would sit on one side of the room, and the newcomers would sit on the other side of the room. Typically, people from like the druggy buggy. Coming on druggy buggy from that
program
for programs and stuff like that, and it just seems so segregated and not intermingling.
Didn't feel united.
It didn't, and I felt like the old timers were talking at the newcomers, and I just stopped going there. To be honest with you, I started going to a different men's meeting.
Yeah,
but like you're talking about, there's very few people that really uphold that. It's a society of men and women kind of thing, right?
Yeah, I don't hold that opinion, only because I was introduced to men's meeting when I was a newcomer,
right?
And it felt like a safe space to talk about the like whatever feelings I had about women,
right?
Or in my case, girls, because I was a teenager when I got here,
right? Yeah. And I mean, men's meetings for me really allowed me to, just identify on the feelings that men have and share about stuff like body dysmorphia as a man.
Right.
And I usually open up with that when I speak if I speak at a meeting, it's, I talk about, the body dysmorphia that I struggle with on a daily basis. And I open up with that to get really raw and uncut about it.
Yeah.
Because that's something I don't want to talk about.
Right. Yeah.
That's something that I've heard it be a societal women's issue, right? But when I step in front of the mirror, I only have 2 mirrors in my house, but when I step in front of the mirror, sometimes I don't like what I see, and I know other men can really benefit from that on a male to male level rather than having some other distractions involved.
Right. So you're opening up authentically. I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And lately I've been really based on, certain respect boundaries and stuff in the intimate relationship that I share, or the romantic relationship that I share with another member here in Phoenix, is that I've been able to open up authentically to men and women in the fellowship, and it not ever being a relationship issue or a crossing of boundaries. And when I struggled with that before in earlier times of being clean or recovery, and my motives have been able to be more like authentic and principle driven than they had in the past.
That's pretty much growth right there.
Right. And I've been allowed the space to be able to do that too.
Nice.
You know, I didn't feel like, you know, and we can get into it later, but I didn't feel like there was much space allowed to do that. Then again, I allowed myself to be in these situations where, well, I honestly wasn't growing at certain times. But yeah, it's been pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So when you were growing up, this is just part of like, you're laughing because I know your parents.
Yeah.
When you were growing up, what did that look like as far as, you know, was there like abuse or stuff going on in your childhood that you later recognized it was part of the cause that made you want to change the way you felt?
Well, the fact that you bring up like the word abuse, right? And I like that you said that because usually when I like I said, I speak at meetings, like, you know, at speaker at a meeting or whatever.
Yeah.
Not just share at a meeting, when I speak at a meeting, it's really like I start out with saying, you know, I wasn't abused, I wasn't sexually abused, I wasn't molested. None of that was part of my childhood. Like in terms of that, like stuff, like it wasn't existent. I didn't struggle with that. There was no substance abuse. You know, there was just normies that would drink wine. At I mean, it's the podcast. We can talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Cool. It's not like
no, we don't care.
No uncertain terms, mean level kind of type. Right?
Yeah, you can talk about smoking dirt. I don't care.
Well, I've probably done that too.
Or as Jen calls it, black tar heroin.
Oh, smoking dirt.
I don't know.
But being that none of that was prevalent in my childhood, right? And my parents, like, they drank wine every night at dinner. You know, they went to work. I feel like we were probably not blue collar, but middle class family.
Yeah.
Grew up on 10 acres. I mean, I grew up a little bit in Sacramento, California.
Yeah. But
I grew up in 10 acres out kind of
in the burbs, right?
In the burbs.
Yeah. You know what's cool about what you said about opening up and stating that you were never abused, there was never any of that other stuff, is that people that gone through that as well can identify. So you
right.
give some members a chance to identify if they weren't abused or molested, because those are not requirements to be a member. Correct.
You know, and just open up that space for them.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
That space and time.
No, I dig that.
You know, and yeah, I like that. See, my ADHD takes some time to catch back up.
You grew up in the area.
Yeah,
on
I grew up in the area, and my parents, like they like, I mean, there was a time, I think, when I was like 7 or 8, you know, and like I acted really put out with my dad. I acted really put out. He was helping me with his math homework, you know, and he got really upset with me because I acted really put out when I went to go erase something because I put it down wrong or he changed his mind about something. I was like, oh, like that, right? And he got really mad, actually. He held his fist up and he said, you know what, son, you want this to go in your face right now? Don't act like that again. I'm here to help you, you know? And I got scared. Yeah. You know, and my dad would raise his voice. You know, he would yell at me at times. He would yell at me to get my attention. And then he would say, why do I have to raise my voice to get your attention? Why can't you just listen?
So what did that do? Put some fear in you?
It did. It did. So I was always kind of a mom. I've always been kind of a mama's boy anyways, you know? Yeah. My mom always pacified me with either toys or money or food or gifts or whatever it was, you know? But other than that, like one instance, there was no real abuse at all. There was just...
Did your dad, like, was he, you know, loving, caring, hugging, talk about his feelings with you?
No, not at all. You know, and still to this day, like my sponsor says, he says, you know, he learned the 3 don'ts, you know, don't trust, don't talk, don't feel. Mm-hmm. You know, when I felt things, it would be like, what are you crying about? Get over it, kid. You know,
Or I'll give you something to cry about.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Right. He said, I'm going to call CPS. And he's like, call him now or I'll give him something to show up for, you know, kind of thing. Right.
Yeah.
This is early 90s, you know, and so, and don't talk, right. Don't talk about your feelings because if you talk about them, I just don't want to hear it. Right.
Yeah.
Then,
so growing up, there was some disassociation with feelings. There was. Which is, I mean, to be honest with you, it's normal for that generation because they grew up like their parents saying that men don't talk about feelings.
Right.
So,
right.
I think it's our generation that's changing or breaking the cycle.
Right. And now he's just like this big old softy that cries all the time.
Good for him.
My dad. Usually over the animals, not people.
Yeah.
You know, the ones that don't talk back, you know.
Your goats.
The goats and the dogs and the horses.
Yeah.
You know, so, but my dad, we struggled to communicate. You know, there was lack of communication and I would get frustrated in when he changed directions or decisions in the middle of a project. And he's like, no, we have to redo the whole thing. And I would get frustrated with that. I would give up. I'd go inside. I'd go cook with my mom. I like to cook with my mom growing up.
Yeah.
She's a good cook. Or
me too, by the way.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Nice.
Loved it.
And my dad just wanted my company. He wanted this company of his son. And I just really thought he wanted me to follow him around the whole time. And I was just like, this is boring. You know? Like when I started having opinions, like 8 years old, right? I started really talking back, you know, and then there was, you know, little Joey slamming doors and my parents running after me, telling me it's not okay, you know, and just some anger stuff.
Yeah.
Some on my part, you know, but.
Was that an issue growing up? Anger?
Yeah, I'd say it was.
You don't have any brothers or sisters.
I have 3 half sisters, 1 half brother. My dad was a good sailor. I got 1 half sister in Norway, 2 half sisters, 1 in Oregon, 1 in LA, and then 1 half brother from my mom's side in Arizona, Tucson.
Are you kidding?
Yeah.
You see him at all?
Sometimes.
Really?
We're busy. He has his own business. I have my own work, you know.
Yeah.
I really mingle with all my NA peeps. And
I get that.
He's a normie, so we relate and don't relate at times, you know.
Yeah.
But
But you didn't grow up with any of them.
No, I didn't. I didn't grow up with any of them actually. My 2 sisters who were closest in age to me, one's 13 years older than me, and the other one's 3 years older than her. They ran away when I was 5. So the youngest one was 18 already.
Wow.
So they ran away in Sacramento house.
So they're out.
They're out. You know? So, you know, and...
Were you close to them at all?
Kind of. Not. I don't know.
I mean, you were 5.
I mean, the only thing I remember from my parents telling me about my sisters was that my sister said she had scoliosis when she was in 2nd grade and couldn't do her homework, but... You know?
Was it true?
That's a true excuse coming from her.
Oh,
she's
does
a middle
she have
child.
scoliosis?
She never had scoliosis, but she tried to get out doing her homework.
Jeez, I got to remember that one when Jen asked me to do the laundry.
But I was 5 years old, jumping on her quote unquote scoliosis back.
Oh, wow.
I was just that little brother that was giving him hell. You know, a little jerk. You know.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But I'm the only son, biological son from both my parents.
Right. And you were raised that way, basically as a only child.
Right. And they've been married this whole entire time. And all I've known is just 36 years of marriage so far.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
They're my heroes to this day.
Cool. Yeah. What about the first time you ever got high?
First time I ever got high.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, and then how did that come about? I mean, did you go... Hey, I'm just hanging out with the older kids?
Right. So I always wanted to hang out with older kids because I had older sisters, you know, and I think subconsciously that transpired when I was really young, but I was always more mature for my age, right? In middle school, I was always more mature, hanging out with the neighborhood kids up the street. You know, they were 2 or 3 years older than me. So I was hanging out with them. But the first time, I remember tasting wine out of my parents' wine glasses, wondering, I was like, what is that?
As a kid?
As a kid.
Yeah.
But the first time I thought I got high, and it's a thought of story because I wanted to be a part of so bad, right? So it was freshman year, high school, Shingle Springs, freshman year, decide whatever high school that's going to be. And I went out to the baseball diamond. It was the freshman welcome back dance. I went out to the baseball diamond with a couple friends, couple guys, and and they rolled it up. They smoked it. They're smoking weed, and I leaned over them and took a big whiff and an effect to get high off their secondhand smoke.
Yeah, right.
And what happened is that I don't know if I really necessarily got high. I played the part that night. We went back into the dance, played the part that night.
You acted as if,
but I knew where to get it next.
Oh, gotcha.
Right? So then the next time, I think I was smoking hash out of a soda can.
And that's what you remember, at least, is like your first high?
Yeah.
That you were consciously remember?
Consciously, yeah.
You're smoking hash, huh?
Hash out of a soda can.
That's back in the old days.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah. That they call it chocolate hash, but hash out of a soda can.
I haven't heard that in a long time.
Right?
Yeah.
And then it was, and then it was marijuana, it was weed, the gateway drug, that kind of stuff. My parents said, you are who you hang out with. It's a gateway drug, it's not good for you, blah, all that stuff, and I said, blah, 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 but it,
then it was on from there?
It was on from there.
Do you remember when you got high, that the first time did it change the way you felt? Was that the one that triggered you to chase the high?
Most likely. If I really, really take some time and keep thinking into it, most likely.
Yeah.
Because if I think about the events that transpired after that, I would still go to those same kids in high school and want to get what they had, right? Marijuana or whatever it was. And I was so naive. I'd get bags of, it's embarrassing. I'd get bags of.
I'm jealous. Yeah, I want to know.
They would give me cut up plant matter, right?
No.
Yeah, seriously, fake weed. It was just it wasn't even weed, right?
And then you would get it and smoke it?
Yeah. And I paid for it $20 and all.
Oregano.
Yeah, or whatever it was, but I didn't have enough balls to go to him and say this is BS. It's not right, So I was so naive that there were some moments, So if I really think about that, I started chasing after that. At the expense of what? Of just about anything.
Yeah, would you take anything at that time to change the way you feel? Any drug?
Most likely, probably. I don't really remember enough. I just know that I was actively attempting to smoke marijuana on a weekly basis at school.
Okay.
And then I wrestled in high school too. So that was the 6 or 9 months that I actively quit smoking marijuana on purpose because I couldn't breathe when I was wrestling. It was a period of abstinence that I deliberately participated in and wanted to have to be better at wrestling. But once wrestling season ended,
back at it.
Smoking.
So, but at that time, the obsessive compulsive hasn't got a grip in you. Not if you're quitting for that amount of time.
No, I don't think so. No, I know the obsession and compulsion really hit when I started doing coke.
Was that still in high school?
That was graduation day of high school.
You're kidding.
Graduation day.
What a great way to celebrate.
I went over
That's
to
what you were thinking.
So there's a neighbor that lived right across the valley, right? The valley, I grew up in Shingle Springs, California. The valley was right down the road, right down the road. But He lives on the
Shingle Springs,
ridge.
nothing's like right down the road.
Well, it was like half mile away. It's right down the road, you know.
Yeah.
But my private road is a quarter mile long, and then you go on the main road probably about 1,000 feet, and you go up his driveway all the way up to the top of the ridge. And we lived right across. We could see each other from our properties, and we could shout to each other across the valley.
Really?
Yeah. So I went over to his house before graduation, and he's like, "Hey, I got this stuff for you." I'm like, "Okay, cool. What is it?" He's like, "It's Coke." I said, "You Coke?" So yeah, try it out. You know, it was lined up on a notebook or on his desk.
First one free.
First one's always free. You know, and I did it, and I was on. It was on. It was on, and I even if I found my graduation picture from high school, I can see in the picture that my eyes were dilated. I can see they're a little bit red. The eyes are dilated, and I was high.
That'd be funny if you said you saw a white ring around your nostril too.
Boogers running down your lip and all that?
Yeah. Yeah. So that's pretty kind of late in the game for a lot of people. You know, well, for guys like us, you know, addicts like us.
18, yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of late in the game.
I lost my virginity at 17.
Yeah.
I feel it's kind of late in the game too, but
Then again, we have friends that didn't start getting high until they were in their late 40s, 50s.
yeah, I can't
So I
imagine
guess
that.
you just never know.
Yeah, I mean, it really ramped up quickly after that. Like, I got clean when I was 23. I was looking to go into prison when I was 23.
Yeah. What,
Actually, I
did
was-
you get arrested?
Many times.
What
Several
was the first time?
So the first time,
Were you a juvenile or an adult?
I was an adult. So I was caravanning back. I lived in Aspen, Colorado on my addiction. Great place to live. It was fun. I lived there from 2008 to 2009,
How old were you?
19
19.
to 20. So I was 19 and 20, but between 19 and 21, in those years. And I lived there for about a year.
How'd you end up out there?
So my aunt used to manage a condominium complex in Aspen from 1979 to 2006. So she was kind of an entrepreneurial pillar in, you know, Aspen Chamber Resort Association.
Wow.
And just, you know, like,
She got you a job?
well, she passed away in 2007, but she didn't give me a job, but them knowing who my family was, you know, the next manager after her, knowing my family was, they gave me a chance. They gave me a job. My cousins had worked there before.
Huh.
I showed up in 2008, you know, working as a bellman, and I got fired three months later because I couldn't keep my nose at the pile of coke. You know, I mean,
Showing up high as a kite every day?
just about, and it's showing up late.
Yeah, that's normal.
Yeah, I mean, it was just tardy, you know, and then I went to work at like a diner or a bakery, but I couldn't show up on time.
So you were in the depths.
In the depths. It was pretty dark. It was the first time that I didn't have to share my drugs with anyone.
Selfish bastard.
Oh man, I loved it. It was good.
All by yourself.
I felt like
Was it hard to get connected up in Aspen?
No, it was easy.
Because we know what we look like, right?
It was easy. So the first connection I got was, so my cousin's friends were bouncers at a lot of the bars. So I developed a relationship with them.
Yeah, that's
right?
pretty easy.
And I got into the bars, you know, and one of the bars I got into, the bartender, you know, I started talking to him a little bit, you know, and he's like, come back in the freezer real quick. And we just started smoking weed, you know, so from the get-go, like I got connected with some marijuana real quick, you know, and
Yeah.
and you know, they were only selling quarters of marijuana, you know, like $100, $100 for a quarter of marijuana. But I mean, that's expensive in California terms, but that was the smallest size they were selling. And then it went from that to like a coworker. We went down valley to Basalt, Colorado, and hooked up with his dealer, and then just getting coke.
So and yeah, then
No.
you just like condensed like a lot of years of getting loaded into just a short period of time then.
I did. I got just smoking weed from age 13 to like 18, like, I don't know if you call it recreationally, habitually, I guess. And then the obsession compulsion was on from 18 to 23,
Right.
5 years.
Yeah. So what about the first arrest?
So the first arrest came when the first real arrest, because so the first time I was on probation was when I was 13 years old.
You were on probation at 13?
13.
For what?
I didn't get arrested, but I trespassed into a skate park. And I wanted to skateboard. Like, I grew up skateboarding
Yeah.
with my neighbors and stuff like that. And the skate park wasn't open yet. We hopped the fence. We went skateboarding, and we got in trouble. And I was on probation. I had to write a letter. My parents were fairly upset with me, and and that was the first time I was on probation.
Dude, I bet you my son Jake skateboarded at the same place you went into.
Cameron Park Skate Park.
Yeah.
Yep. That's the last place I hurt myself too.
Yeah.
Tore my ACL. So,
Nice.
recently got that fixed. But I was on probation for like 6 months or something when I was 13. And then I got caught shoplifting at the Folsom Outlets, right? And I was shoplifting shoes,
Shoes at what age?
16 and a half.
So you
16.
never went to juvenile hall then?
No, I just went on probation. Went to probation. Got probation. They let me off. My parents came pick me up. They escorted me home. They grounded me from the car, right?
Yeah.
In which I worked my way out of that because I just came up with, I need to go here, I need to go there, I need to go here. And they're like, we're tired of taking you places. Here's the car back. Just work the system,
Yeah, master manipulator at 16?
all day, and I got the car back, but I was on probation, I think, for about a year. But and then the first time I got arrested was I was 20 years old. I was coming back from caravanning back with my father. And this is kind of like a situation where it's like my dad, it hurt him a lot. It created a lot of hurt and
Disappointment?
I'll talk about that. But,
Yeah.
But we were caravanning back from Colorado, helping me move back. I exhausted all my employment opportunities within a year of being there, from doing coke and shrooms, ecstasy, and all that kind of stuff. And
You were a garbage can addict.
garbage can, dumpster.
Dumpster
Dump
addict.
truck. So I got pulled over in Elko, Nevada.
Oh, gross, dude. That's so gross.
BFE, Nevada.
Yeah, I've got
No.
horror stories about Elko.
BFE, Nevada. And so I got pulled over. I wasn't maintaining the right or a consistent speed limit. And I guess the plane with the radar,
Really?
the CHP plane.
Never heard of anybody
CHP, but Arizona or Nevada
Highway
plane.
Patrol, yeah.
Yeah, they spotted me on they were clocking me, and then they transmitted radio
Right,
down
yeah,
to
yeah.
the car, and he pulled me over. And rolled down the window, and he smelled the marijuana, and then he asked where it was at, and got some paraphernalia, so a pipe, and I got DUI for marijuana. And I got really lucky on this. I mean, lucky, blessed, whatever you want to call it, because I was caravanning with my dad, and my dad came back, and he stopped and was like, "What's going on?" They didn't search my car because
Really?
they would have found some stuff that would have sent me to prison for 15 years. So they did the field sobriety test right there, the Nevada Highway Patrol. And the moment that my dad, they said, "We're taking you to jail. You have a DUI for marijuana." My dad was like, "Oh my God, are you serious?" He put his hand on his head. he shed a couple tears and he's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like it hurt him.
Well, no
know?
doubt.
And I think about it because he's my hero now. Someone that I hated is my hero. I really love him. I hurt him. And I think about the hurt that it caused. And so I hurt him, and they didn't search my car because my dad drove my car, followed the cop back to the jail, and then the cop took him back out to his car, and they drove his car back.
Yeah.
But my dad searched my car, and he found this bong case with a bong, pipe, this bubbler thing, bags.
Wait, what's a bubbler thing?
Bubbler,
I'm curious. I don't know.
like a bubbler pipe. You know,
No, I don't know what that
pipe
is.
That it's like a it's a piece of paraphernalia that
I'm gonna have
has
to look that up.
That's
That's
water
after my
in
time.
like a reservoir. It's like a handheld bong.
Oh,
kind of thing.
okay.
It's like a pipe with like a reservoir on the bottom of it.
All right.
And bubbles, and it.
That sounds like fun.
Fun.
No.
Right. And so he and it had the paraphernalia in there. It had a scale, bags, coke, weed, ecstasy, and shrooms.
So that's enough for
That's federal.
sales.
That's federal. That's crossing borders with an intent to sell and all that kind of stuff, you know. And my dad said that the cop found it all the way up to until the day before my court date, right? And then he told me he found it, and I was freaking out, you know, because I heard it was 15 years federal to cross borders.
Oh, I see what your dad did.
Yeah, and
put some fear in you.
yeah. So we went to court, you know, and I said I was going to try and go into the military because my dad always wanted me to be the military man that he was.
All right.
Right? He always wanted.
What was he?
He was in the Navy.
Yeah.
So he finished out as an E8 Senior Chief Petty Officer. But he takes a lot of pride in that, you know, and so he wanted me to go in the military. Navy wouldn't take me. We tried Coast Guard. Coast Guard wouldn't take me. He asked for mercy on the court from me. I interrupted him in the middle of the court and embarrassed him. And he was
We do.
hurt when he got home again. You know, we got back from Elko in the court day, you know, had cessation classes online and 48 hours of jail time, and that was it. Got off. You know?
Yeah, you did get lucky.
I did, you know, and then it was off and running one more time.
Isn't that crazy? We look back and we look how many bullets we dodged. Like if we ever got caught for all the stuff.
If I would have went down for the stuff I did before I got clean, I wouldn't be here right now.
No.
No, like I got off easy when that was it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. So then it was off and running. It became I started smoking meth. I was a gangster, like you used to identify.
Yeah.
I thought I was a gangster running around, you know, and that was a thing where I just tried it once in a hotel room with some friends, playing a dice game 10,000 all night.
Yeah. So speed became the drug of choice at this time?
Meth. Yeah.
Yeah.
2009. Yeah.
Wow.
October 2009, and I finished with that case.
You remember
Probably
the date?
October, yeah. I remember the date because I started dating this normie that wanted to save me, and that didn't work out either. That was a terrible equation.
There's like a direct transition from the drugs that you were doing to speed, and it just took over took over.
Yeah, it did. It took over, and it wasn't just a matter of time. It wasn't right off the bat. I did it once, and then like 5 months later, I did it again, or 4 or 5 months later, I did it again with some friends, and it just activated this like, I like the way that feels. And then I bypassed the friends that were called the homies. I bypassed them, and then it just started going straight to the dealer. You know, and the dealer was like this strung out dude. Auburn Boulevard in Garfield.
Yeah, you don't need to give us his address.
No, I don't even know if he's even alive anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a general area. And those who know Auburn Boulevard in Garfield.
Yeah, it's just a bad neighborhood.
Not the best. Yeah.
No, I've heard stories.
Yeah, those who know the area could probably figure out the street. Just saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that got you, you were getting loaded doing speed this whole time. And then how did you end up in recovery?
So I ended up in recovery.
Or was there stories in between that?
Well, there's lots of stories. There's lots of stories.
But I mean, was there like another arrest or serious jail time?
There was 2 more arrests. So there's another arrest in January 2011. So I my whole, all the way through 2010, I kept just coming and going to my parents' house. I was just disappearing in the middle of the night. I would come and make everything right for a couple weeks, and then I would just fall off the face of the earth. And I would just disappear. And I'm the type that keeps in contact with my parents every single day living at their house, or every couple days if I'm not living at their house, or weekly now, like once or twice a week. And my parents didn't hear from me for like 3 weeks at one time. And my mom thought I was dead.
That would do it.
And January 2011, I got arrested in my car, in Placerville, and I've been up all night. I think I've been up for like 3 days. And
what'd you get arrested for?
Paraphernalia charge. Oh, it was possession of paraphernalia, possession of controlled substance. But that year, twice in that year, and I'll explain the next instance as well, the possession of controlled substance got dropped in the courtroom with the public defender. Like, they decided to give me a chance.
Oh, really?
They dropped the felony and just gave me a misdemeanor.
No kidding.
And it was a blessing. So I did 3 days in jail for that, and I just was off and running again. Well, after that, my parents said, if you want to live in our house and be a part of our life, you need to do something, and they called it clean and sober. You need to do something to be clean. So I went to a recovery program with my hospital, the chemical dependency recovery program in Sacramento.
Yeah.
And I started becoming a part of that. And then I
did they take you to meetings?
They didn't take us to
H-night?
meetings. They didn't take us to meetings, no. But it was just like an outpatient program that I went to daily.
So it was just counseling?
Counseling kind of thing.
Yeah, so no 12-step program.
Not yet, but the first 5 days I was supposed to have 5 meetings, a meeting a day.
Uh-huh.
And my thought was, for this addict, was I'm in this thing 8 hours a day. I'm not doing any work outside of this.
Oh, I see. They wanted you to go to an outside meeting.
So at day 5, they put me on a hiatus, and they said, you have 5 days to go to 5 meetings to stay in this program. And I said to myself, if I want to stay at my parents' house, I better start going to meetings and being part of this program. Put me on hiatus. I went to 5 meetings. I started going to AA. I became, I'm an alcoholic named Joey. I'm sober, and I was a member of AA, and I got a sponsor. I need literature, so I stole it.
After 5 meetings?
Yeah, I was off and running. I mean, I was in it. I was all in. I had to be all in if I wanted to stay at my parents' house.
Yeah, I get it.
And that was a safety net that was very important to me. So I got sober for 86 days and I relapsed. I started working
pretty good chunk of change when you're...
Yeah, and the seed was planted. The seed was definitely planted, and I met some people that I went to school with that were getting clean or sober, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
I got myself a sponsor. I was doing some book studies. Like I said, I need literature, so I stole it. I've since made amends for that. It's not the way to get literature.
I was going to say something, but
yeah. I didn't have any money or any pride. Enough. I had too much pride to even
I
put $1 down now. So.
Been in meetings where we've seen people steal literature and then and walk out, and I watched home group members just walk up and fork over the money for that book that just went out the door and not say another word about it. Yeah. So if they need that book, let them steal it.
Yeah. Right. Since being clean, I saw a guy steal the 7th Tradition basket.
That's a little different. Yeah.
That's a little different, but
that's causing harm.
That is causing harm. But So I got a sponsor, you know, and I started working steps. And I got to 6th step by 86 days.
No kidding.
I did the first.
So did you do like a solid 4-step in AA?
I guess. I mean, I did the first 3 steps in 5 minutes, and then it was
That's
on
the
to
AA
4th
way.
step. Yeah, I mean, that's
You
just
do it in the parking lot at your first meeting.
yeah, right. And so I did. I mean, I guess you could call. I thought I did. I mean, it included like, you know, the arresting agencies.
Yeah.
You know, my parents. You know, everyone except for myself. You know,
Right.
but
In that AA 4-step, do they make you do it with the 3 columns and the fear,
Yeah.
resentment, and all that?
Yeah, and it was, and I still like to be able to see that on paper. You know,
Yeah.
it's helpful.
Nothing wrong with it.
No, but it's
It worked for me my first time.
it was new, you know, and I did it, but I don't know if I really got past like scratching the surface. It was all, you know, like what others did to me, and really, it wasn't as thorough as the NA way,
Yeah.
you know, as Narcotics Anonymous,
I get that.
you know.
I get that.
So I relapsed, you know, and I got the job. I became employable again. I got a job at a restaurant. I was a saute cook,
Nice.
and because I mean,
See, it paid off cooking in the kitchen with your mom.
a little bit, yeah, a little bit, until I realized that. I mean, cooks don't get paid much, you know.
No.
Anyways, so I forfeited that one, you know. But they, you know, I decided to go out to a work party, you know, at a bowling alley in Folsom, and everyone, and they're all social. I mean, they're all normies, and I started drinking. At that night, I remember saying, "I'm not going to tell my sponsor about this. It's not a big deal. I'm not going to go do the hard stuff like I used to."
Right.
And I left that bowling alley, went straight to the casino, and ended up hanging out with the same people I left 90 days before. And my whole get rich quick scheme was putting $3 in the penny slots and ended up in the high roller's bathroom smoking meth.
Just that easy.
Just that quick
Yeah.
every time. You know?
Did you, looking back, do you know how you made that decision? Was there something going on that you're like, you know what, I just think I'm going to drink tonight?
You know what? I think it was stresses in the relationship that I was in, you know, and there's a little bit more to that relapse because, like, I think she wanted me to get clean. She wanted to fix me.
Yeah.
And the normie, and then she wanted to fix me. And I think I felt like pressure that she wanted to fix me, or I felt like doubt in our relationship or some kind of untrust. And I was like, I'm just going to kind of break out and do my own thing. I actually started going to a friend's house, a coworker's house after work and drinking beer for about a week and smoking cigarettes. I didn't ever really smoke cigarettes in my addiction. It was like, they made me sick. So drinking beer and then going home and acting like nothing was wrong. And then it was like the real event was that night at the bowling alley,
Oh, yeah.
like a week later or something like that. And
Yeah. So you'd already been drinking.
yeah, and she knew some of my coworkers because we worked at a different restaurant before that, and he kind of followed me over there, you know. So she was asking him about me, and I was like, no, forget you. I don't want you to find out about me. I'm out of here, you know. Or
Yeah.
it was just, I felt that someone wanted something from me that I didn't want, you know, and I just wanted to get away from it.
That's pretty heavy.
I wanted to, just leave me alone.
Yeah, well,
You
you
know?
didn't have, I mean, you know, obviously you didn't have the tools on how to interact with that relationship.
Right.
Yeah. So you got loaded,
Yeah.
relapsed, and then did that lead to another arrest? Is that?
Eventually, yes. But that relationship ended in that matter of time, you know, and I just kept, I took off running, you know,
Full bore?
all around El Dorado County. It was wild. I mean, with anyone and everyone in full bore. And I mean, the darkest times was, you know, like, as part of one of the stories at the end, but darkest times was, like I would be in my car. I mean, I'm okay with this stuff now because I've worked on it, but I'd be in my car smoking meth, watching porn, jerking off, trying to find the next Wi-Fi signal to continue my escapade of
Right.
private time or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, so you
with
just
no
wanna-
tinted windows, like weird stuff.
All right. So rational thought and behavior was out the window.
All out the window.
Yeah.
And I disappeared from her life. And I remember she held on until like October 2011. And I remember this call. I get calls of her crying. I get calls of my mother crying, saying, "Where are you? Like, where are you? Like, I'm worried about you."
Uh-huh.
I get calls of her crying, "Where are you? I'm worried about you." I remember the last call was like, I can't do this anymore. This is it. I have to give up. I have to move on with my life.
Really? What did you get? Is that the point where you started to feel that desperation?
That was the point where it, like, I don't know if I really felt it just got deeper for me from there, and it was only a month and a half later until I got arrested again. But it was like, that was deeper for me. And it was just like, well, then I'm just going to go use more and F it. Forget about it, And I say that because, like, there's still an amends to make. That amends to her,
Yeah.
there's still that amends to make. I actually am connected with her on Facebook, but she doesn't have the ability for me to be able to message her. I'm ready to make the amends, but the ability to message her, she has another family, she has a family and kids, all that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
but just leaving someone high and dry and just leaving, like, deserting that
Yeah.
and just running away and not caring. Like, if I couldn't use what you had, or I couldn't use you, whoever you were, you had to go.
Did you ever consider yourself, like, looking back now, like a master manipulator?
Yeah. Yeah.
Really good at changing people's feelings and opinions of you to get what you want?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I remember being able to get in people's heads, in high school,
Yeah.
typically women, and I would be able to finish their sentences and, like, woe them, all this, or like woo them, all this kind of stuff, and like fascinate them with how smart I am. And it was just this sick amount of manipulation,
It seems that a lot of us addicts have that tendency to be able to shuck and jive and talk our way into getting what we want.
Right.
It's pretty prevalent.
So I then got arrested on November 2nd, 2011. The last time I got arrested.
You're really good with dates.
Well, it's so.
I can't remember what day today is, to be honest with you.
Kevin, you've been clean 4 decades.
I have no idea. And no, that's not true.
Almost.
Okay, close.
So 3.8 decades. But so November 2nd, 2011, I got arrested. I don't remember. It was October 31st, 2011. I sold my car to Cash for Cars for $400. I had a blown head gasket. I was done. I was running around all Elroy County, Pollock Pines, California, up there in trees, hanging with the shadow people, thinking the cops couldn't find me in the trees, and they didn't for a while. And I came back down the hill to Cameron Park, using.
Should have stayed in the trees.
Man, I was hanging. Well, yeah.
With the tree people.
Yeah, if I did, I'd probably be dead by now, And so I sold my car to Cash for Cars, blew the head gasket, and started driving around a stolen car in Cameron Park, hanging out with my dealer. All my dealers were women. I don't know why they were, but they were. I slept with my dealers in the past, to get what I needed. And I was driving around a stolen car. And so November 2nd, 2011, I got arrested. I was at my dealer's house. And this is part of the story for the end. But essentially, long story short, hopped out the back door and, ran from the cops. And, and eventually ended up at a gas station on Ponderosa Road, Highway 50. And got got arrested between the chips and the candy aisle in the gas station.
I know that gas station.
I know. And I got arrested coming out the bathroom by the drug task force. So they were on my tail and they got tipped off and someone one way or another, and on my way to the next dope house. And it's probably
Well, it's a small town.
probably the thing that saved my life, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably the thing.
So is that where you ended up getting clean?
I ended up getting cleared. So I went to jail for about 12, 13 days. And I got out. And the first person I called was my dope dealer, my dealer. You know, a different dealer, right? Another lady. Because that's all I knew how to do. And my dad came to pick me up at a gas station up there by the El Dorado County Jail. And I was standing on a red curb, right? I was standing on a red curb, and my dad couldn't park on a red curb to pick me up, right? And it was kind of in like the main thoroughfare, like going through the parking lot.
Of the jail?
No, of a gas station down.
Oh,
the
okay.
way.
I guess.
So he kind of went around the corner and passed me up. And because he passed me and he didn't roll the window down to say anything, like that, there was no communication. I didn't feel there was communication.
Right.
Like I walked the other way. I was just like, F you. You know, and like he drove past me. He didn't stop right where I wanted him to stop.
Yeah, yeah.
I just said, I walked around the other side of the gas station. I got in the car. I went to another dope house. You know, and I used one more time, and that was November 14th, 2011. I got clean on the 15th. So November 15th, 2011, my clean date. You know, and I held that clean date on November 3rd for a long time because just that little bit on the 14th was not enough to get Joey high. So about 90 days clean, I called my sponsor and I said, you know, hey, Spons, I got to confess to you. He's like, what's going on? So I got to change my clean date by 13 days or 12 days or whatever. He's like, great, I'm glad you got on us. I'll see you later at the meeting. Bye. Click.
It's not a big deal.
It's not a big deal.
It's never a big deal.
It was that easy, you know,
Yeah.
that November 15, 2011. And
Did you go back to AA?
no, I went to NA this time.
How did you get hooked up with that?
So my parents...
Don't say girl.
No.
Okay.
No.
Because you have a history.
Right. Clearly I do. I just explained it right now.
Right.
So, so I got clean by my parents. I got out of jail, went to my parents' house. I really just wanted to get out of jail and go on the Thanksgiving trip that my parents usually do. Usually we go to like the coast, or we went to Aspen, Colorado. And that was my whole motive. I want to get out of jail and go to Thanksgiving.
Oh, okay.
So they said, we need to find you a recovery house to go to before we go on the trip. You have a couple of choices. You have this one. It's kind of in the ghetto in Sacramento. Or you have this one. It's in the burbs in Sacramento. And it's a co-ed house.
Well, duh.
I said, that one right there, co-ed.
Yeah.
I said, okay, cool. Call it up, you know. So I showed up. We did a walkthrough, right? I got out of jail. I had a black eye. I got in a fight in jail, you know, for talking smack to a guy. So I had Walmart, layered Walmart T-shirts, right? Like I layered the different colors, a pea coat, right? Like baggy jeans, flat brim hat, Nike Air Force Ones, and a black eye.
Nice.
I got clean. Like I was doing it. Like I was hot. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah, I do.
Not at all. And
Poster child.
Jesus. I was like the poster child for like, you know, like the NA newcomer smoking Newports,
Right.
tall tees.
Yeah.
So we went and did a walkthrough, and then my parents gave them first month's rent or whatever, and then I moved in after Thanksgiving. So I stayed clean all the way to Thanksgiving. I looked for a meeting in the little town of Guerneville, Monterey, right on the Russian River.
Yeah, no,
And there's an AA hall there, but they weren't open. They didn't have a meeting when I walked down there, and I never went back to check again. So I stayed abstinent for like 6 days without a meeting until I went to this recovery house. I checked in like a week later or something like that.
That's kind of impressive that you stayed clean while you were out on vacation.
Yeah, I did.
So you must have had a desire by then.
Well, I knew I was told in the court this last time that if I got loaded and I showed up if I showed up in the courtroom one more time, because I was on the second 3 strikes, that, because again, actually, I forgot to explain that the felony for the controlled substance was dropped in the courtroom once again. So it was dropped in the courtroom twice in 2011 with a public defender, and they gave me Prop 36, which is like a drug court type program in California.
Right? Yeah.
So, and they said if you show up in my courtroom one more time for the same charges, which I was bound to show up with the same charges, I kept doing what I was doing.
Yeah.
That you're going to go do a prison term in jail. And right now the prison term is 3 years. I thought 13 days was enough. You know, like the handicap bed with 2 mattresses as a TV chair is not cool. You know, like thinking that like, you know, like I was storing contraband. I had an extra spoon in my mattress. Like I thought it was cool. Like it was not cool. You know? And I was just tired of like just running, you know, and I knew that I had kept that safety net for the first 4 years. And that's what kept me clean. I was telling another addict the other day, I said, remember that safety net or what is the consequence if you get loaded? You know, and one of my sponsors, the consequence is he'll die. You know, he's had 9 overdoses in the past. And he's all, I'll die. And I said, well, I always go back to that. Think about that consequence that's keeping you here. And mine was going to prison. I didn't want to go to prison.
Yeah,
do a prison term. And so that's what helped me stay clean.
That's pretty cool.
So the druggy buggy took me to meetings.
And that was your first introduction, like rehab and...
I had been introduced to NA meetings a little bit in Folsom earlier in the year. That my mom and the other half to Want to Fix Me wanted me to go.
Yeah.
But my first real introduction in which I stayed and I got myself a sponsor in NA was in November 2011, like late 2011 when I got clean this time.
Cool.
So it was a birthday meeting. It was a big meeting. There was like 200 people.
Birthday meeting where?
Auburn and Garfield area in Sacramento.
Oh, you were going to meetings in Sac?
So yeah, so I got I went down to American River area.
Yeah.
I started going to Spruce.
Nice.
The big Spruce meeting.
Crazy.
Dog and Pony Show, Academy Awards, no red carpet. You know, and the lady, actually, the greeters were women, right? And I was like, if the greeters are women, I'm staying, right? And this lady, she hugged me and she said, welcome, I'm glad you're here. And I came in and standing room only. It was like 200 people. And I looked across the room. There's a little guy who was 4'11". He was bald. He had 2 teeth. And he looked like Elmer Fudd, you know, and he was smiling. I was like, that's my sponsor right there. First guy smiling. It's my sponsor.
Really?
Didn't even watch the actions of another human being. No. I made my mind.
So you went and asked him?
Yeah. He's like, yeah, I'd be honored. You know? So we started working some steps. You know, and...
well, let me, before you go any further, let me ask you, when you, at this point, did you have reservations still about getting loaded? So when you first started this part of getting clean?
And like the reservation, there was reservations if my parents passed away or anything happened to my parents.
Like you had in the back of your mind, if they pass, I'm gonna.
I don't know if I was strong enough to stay clean.
Okay.
Yeah, like I mean, and still to this day, like I don't. I know I could stay clean through it.
Yeah,
but it would hurt really bad. You know, I need to seriously lean on some people. I had the tools to do that today. But no, I had reservations then of like...
Was that the only reservation?
Just about. Because anything else, like I always remembered, I have to do a prison term. I don't want to do prison. I don't want to go to jail again. Mm-hmm. It sucked. You know?
Yeah.
Getting yard 4 times in 1 week, whoop-de-doo. Like, you know, I don't want to eat off trades and stack them by the door. You know? I don't want to have timed phone calls. I don't want to have recorded phone calls. I don't want to be told when to wake up. you know?
Right. So you basically just had those feelings around your parents.
Yeah.
You know, if something happened to them,
Yeah.
you don't know if you could stay clean.
I wasn't sure. If I
Not
could
like
stay
you were
clean.
thinking, if they pass, I'm going to get loaded.
I was pretty sure I would most likely get loaded if they passed.
Yeah.
Because I knew I wasn't strong enough. You know? So.
Well, they didn't,
Right.
and you made it.
And they're very healthy, you know? And you know, and there's been a whole process around that too, you know? With them.
How long were you in the rehab?
So that one, I was there for about...
Wait, that one?
That one. I went to a different one
After this?
after this. So I went to a recovery house, a code recovery house for 3 months. And it was end of February. And
How long did it take you to hook up? Why are you laughing? Because I know you.
that's right. That's right. Yeah, I had the recovery house girlfriend too.
Uh-huh.
We're hugging on the porch, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Hugging on the back porch kind of thing, right? And probably a month or less.
Did you, like, I had the thought process, you knew that if you, like, got romantically involved, you'd get kicked out.
Yeah. And there were others that were getting romantically involved and concealing it in certain ways, and you know, and like I'm grateful for that place. It was amazing. They helped me out a lot, but it was tough. It was tough. It was distracting. There were people. There was one guy in particular that, you know, I was helping him get his quote unquote meds. You know, his Suboxone or whatever, and there happened to be methadone, and I told someone else about it. I told her, right, person I was dating, thought I was dating, seeking companionship with,
Right, I got you.
right, and I told her, and I got back to him, and he came out to the parking lot, you know, and Eric came out and wanted to fight me, and I was like, I'm out. This is stupid. You know, so it was end of February and my rent was just about up. I hadn't paid March rent yet. And I packed my stuff up and I left 9 o'clock at night. I called my parents and I went to their house. You know, and I got into another transitional house in California. And
Was it right after this?
just the next day?
Nice.
The next day I went to a men's transitional house in which,
Kind of a smart move for
yeah,
you.
very smart. I needed it. You know, and it was a halfway house, transitional house, and I found myself. I got a job with a friend, moving houses. You know, we're movers, making $20 an hour. You know, and
Which is not, actually, it's not bad.
not bad in 2012.
Of your age and that year, yeah.
Yeah. So and I was working all the time, 7 days a week, and going to meetings, and you know, and hanging out at the hookah bar. Hanging out with chicks. That was my fellowship time, was the hookah bar.
Yeah.
You know, I was too busy to...
Hookah bar with people in the program?
No.
So you were actively hanging out
Actually
in
hanging out with normies and,
shady places
yeah, at shady places and put myself in a position to just
where you could have gotten loaded?
seek companionship and get laid. You know, and I was too busy doing that to fellowship with Narcotics Anonymous in the first year of being clean.
Really?
Yeah.
All year?
All year.
You never fellowshipped with NA people?
Not really.
But you stayed clean?
But I stayed
That's
clean.
amazing.
I was
That's
very
unheard
involved.
of.
I was very involved.
Wow.
I had 3 coffee positions. It was like Saturday Night Live, Spruce, and there was one other coffee position, probably in Folsom.
Yeah.
I was like NA barista. I was doing it, you know. And
But you weren't socializing with NA people.
after the meeting a little bit, but then I take off, you know, and hang out here, hang out there, you know.
It's
and
crazy that you didn't get loaded that whole time.
I had to remember that I was going to go to prison if I got loaded.
Yeesh.
And that kept me.
Yeah.
There was that moment where I got off of drug court for a month and a half, right? So in Sacramento County, after you've done all your classes, so you do your classes, whatever it is, and then 12 weeks after those classes, you get discharged from drug court.
Okay.
I mean, there's so many people in Sacramento County, right?
So they discharge you.
They discharged me, right? But And that was the first time when I realized that, like, I was just on probation. I didn't really have that program I was going to weekly. I wasn't being monitored anymore, right? And now it was really up to me, right?
You didn't have to go in and drop a urine analysis, a UA, piss test?
Not anymore. Nope.
Huh.
You know, and there was like a twilight period of like a month and a half of like where I got my certificate. It was like in processing, like I completed and I was processing. And I was like, I could go use. I could get loaded, and I had thoughts on sessions to get loaded, you know, and I didn't, you know, and I was like, no one would figure it out. No one would know.
You would.
I would.
Yeah.
You know, and I didn't get loaded. And that was the first time, you know, in being clean that I had some serious obsessions of like, I want to go get loaded, you know, and I'm sure I was talking about it at meetings, and I was sure I was talking about it in a sense of like, I don't have this safety net umbrella over my head, and I could go do this and no one would know, but I would, kind of thing, you know?
Yeah. So a year of doing this, where was the transition for you like to actively participate in the fellowship?
So the transition was when I moved to Tucson the first time. So at 11 months clean, I decided that I had enough of you know, feeling lonely in the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous in Sacramento.
Yeah.
And I decided to do my first clean geographical relocation. It was to Tucson.
Really?
Yeah. And
how'd you pick Tucson?
so my brother and I met so my brother and I came into my life. My brother came into my life.
Yeah.
He found my mom via Facebook.
So you went out to Tucson to meet him?
No, he came out to Sacramento. He met us with his kid and his ex-wife and his kids, and his wife at the time, but his now ex-wife,
yeah,
and his kids, and jokingly, my whole tagline was like, "Well, you have a job," because he's a business owner. You got a job, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. He's like, "Yeah, come on out." I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool." And so my sponsor at the time, he's like, "It was exactly 5 weeks from when you met your brother till you actually took action on this life-changing event and you moved."
Wow.
That's not very long. And I was running away from feeling lonely in Narcotics Anonymous. And I got to Tucson, and I met him, and then kept in contact, and then I started a job with him, and I got laid off for business reasons and stuff like that. I had to take care of his business. But I went to Narcotics Anonymous in Tucson, and I raised my hand. I said, "I'm new in town. I'm from California. I got a year clean and very little to no recovery.
No kidding.
And I want to go and I want a phone list." So I got a phone list, and an old timer, amazing woman. She invited me out to fellowship, and she's clean to this day. She's actually in San Jose now, but she has like 35 years clean now, but she had like 23 years clean then or something. And she invited me. She said, "Come on out to meet with us folks, or eat with us folks." And I went out to fellowship, and we were talking back in the days when like people were planking on things, and they were like planking on chairs and acting like
So
goofballs
stupid.
and drinking coffee late night, and went to eat Mexican food and drinking coffee and planking on chairs. And that was my first bout with fellowship, and it was kind of cool.
Yeah. So that's your start of like actively participating in the fellowship.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. And that was at a year clean.
And so that took off then.
November 2012 is, yeah. And it took off.
Good for you.
I started fellowship with people, and
That whole year, man, you were dodging bullets left and right.
kind of, yeah. Yeah, I was just in, I put myself in situations to get what I thought I should have.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Which
Yeah.
is not
So let me ask you, did you have like shame and guilt growing up about your drug use? I know you talked a little bit about your dad, right?
Yes, I had a lot of shame and guilt of even them finding out.
Yeah.
You know, my parents did not believe in using drugs. They believed that, you know, like I remember my dad finding like my weed plants on the property, on his own property. And
Really?
So, yeah, I had like 7 foot like weed plants at like 16 years old, 17 years old, and he found them and he ripped them out. My mom was like, Joey, your dad's about to put $50,000 worth of fence around this whole entire property. He's going to walk the whole property. If he finds those, you should put him down by the ravine because there's a ravine.
Your mom told you where to put them.
She's kind of on my side.
Oh my God.
She's like, you should put them. I was like, I don't want to put them on the neighbor's property because the neighbors are about to build a house there or they were starting to level the property. So I want them to find them.
Oh my God.
So I didn't move them in time, and I was at work and I came home on lunch break. And he's like, yeah, I just followed the path through the weeds back there. I mean, it was a clear path. And he ripped them out and he was mad. And he said, you know, you put, like, I could lose my property because of you.
Right.
Like, I could go to jail because
That's
of you.
heavy shame and guilt.
And I was like, oh man, you know, and I always concealed, like, getting loaded. Like, one time I think my mom, like, in front of family or like, yeah, in front of family, she's like, what about that? What about you being high the other day or something like that? And I was like, oh my gosh. Like, I got like my covers pulled in front of my family, and I just used my diversion technique of raising my voice and shouting cuss words, you know, like it was just controlling the situation in a fear-based manner.
And I know the answer to this, but you have since gone back and made amends.
To my parents?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was a beautiful process. I made amends to my mom, and of course that was easy. She's like, yeah, just, you know, I'm really proud of you, and you're the son that I've always wanted, and Narcotics Anonymous has given me my son back.
Mm-hmm.
And then my dad, he helped me transport my motorcycle out to Tucson when I lived out in Tucson the first time. And we were sitting at my apartment, and at the time, just him and I. And that was before he took off to go back. And I did my amends. I had a little script out, did my amends, and I thought he was going to say, you know, like, you owe me every damn cent you took from me, and you know, me and whoever, and
some fear around that amends.
A lot of fear, you know, and it went better than I thought it ever would. And he said, son, just keep doing what you're doing. I'm really proud of you. Mm-hmm. You know, and then I went to my home group that night. It was a Thursday. Tuesday. Went to a home group that night, and people were like, how are y'all? I'm amazing. You know, and like Hugh Hauser, you know, I'm amazing, right? And
yeah.
So,
well, that's good. So you're in the fellowship in Tucson.
I got connected the first time I went there.
Yeah.
You know, for 15 months, and then I moved back. You know, I struggled to find work and moved back.
Why did you go back to California?
I couldn't keep up with my bills. My parents couldn't keep paying them.
So Tucson, you couldn't find a job that paid you enough to pay bills?
No.
Really?
I mean, I was working as a painter back then.
Yeah.
You know, because I was doing side jobs after my brother laid me off. I was doing side jobs and just painting people's houses. I know how to paint. I know how to be a painter. And so I was painting people's houses, and then I got a job at a painting company, and we were doing some commercial jobs and stuff. But it was only $10 an hour at the time, and it wasn't a lot.
Yikes! No, that's not enough.
You know, and I went back to visit, and I realized, I was like, you know what? I made my decision. I'm going back. So it was early, like February-ish, March 2013. I moved on back. In 2014, I moved on back. So I was there for 15 months. About the end of 2012 to early 2014, I moved on back.
And you went back to your parents?
Back to my parents.
How long did you live there before you got your own place?
Well, I moved in with a girlfriend.
Oh.
I moved in with the next companion, right? And that ended up being a 6-year relationship. And but I moved in probably a year and a half later. You know,
after you got back.
After I got back,
yeah.
So her and I got together November 2014. Member of Narcotics Anonymous. You know, and ended up being a 6-year relationship, 5.5, 6-year relationship after that.
Yeah, so a lot went into that.
There was a lot in that.
Yeah.
That was the darkest time clean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were acting out character defects the whole time?
Big time. Well,
Yeah.
a lot of times. Yeah.
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 What about the program at that point that kept you there?
The program. What do you mean?
Like the fellowship. Like, did you get connected besides getting a girlfriend?
When coming back to Tucson?
Coming back
Oh,
from
we come
Tucson?
to Sacramento?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was already connected from being connected from the first year of being clean.
Yeah.
You know, so I actually got connected in Sierra Foothills area more, you know, at the Placerville Survivors Group when I was around.
Tuesday night?
The home group
Yeah.
every Tuesday. Like I believed in that group, you know, and I was there and I loved that group. That was a good group. And, you know, and so Placerville Survivors and a lot of those meetings in Placerville and Shingle Springs I started going to and really got connected in my area where I lived at. Because I believed when I got clean that I could not get clean in the
area where you used?
in the area I used.
Yeah.
It was not, because there were, I mean, I thought there were people after me. There probably were. But, I mean, I was going to be severely hurt if I was found based on things.
I hear
did
a lot
in
of people
addiction.
talk about that, you know, and I ended up getting clean where I got loaded and, you know, I'm sure there's people after me too, but I didn't really have a choice. I was like, you know, same as you. I was looking at a prison term, and
Yeah.
if I didn't get clean right away, it was going to be bad news.
Yeah.
Did you come to when you finally started working the steps? Did you come to a realization that you carried a lot of resentment with you?
Yeah, I did. I mean, resentment. I mean, there was so much more resentment of who I was more than. I mean, from realizing it now, there's so much more resentment of who I was.
Right, but that's now. But at the time when you were writing your first set of steps, your first 4-step,
Right.
like, can you look back and go, yeah, I resented, you know, the cops. I resented
My parents.
your parents. I resented her.
Every ex-girlfriend
Yeah.
I was ever with.
Yeah, so there's a large list of resentments.
It was big.
So now when you look back, are they still there?
No.
So what changed?
What changed was, you know, being able to see my part in it and offering just grace to the situation. Mainly being able to see my part in it and what I did to cause those. I mean, because I wasn't looking at my part,
Exactly.
you know, and I
Yeah.
was just I thought like these people, like whoever it was, whatever the resentment was, they were just like, they're just being jerks.
And they harmed you.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
But I cultivated I cultivated my situation by how I acted and how I lied through it. You know,
Absolutely.
like it was just people didn't just come out with these principles of like, we're just going to be after Joey. It was like,
No.
oh, like,
Yeah, you know that pebble in the pond, the ripple effect.
yeah,
Yeah. They're only reacting to something that you did.
right. Absolutely.
Yeah. The cops wouldn't have showed up if you hadn't been driving down the road, weaving in and out, or, you know what I'm saying?
Should have
They
seen
pulled you over for a reason.
Should have seen me on the way here.
Yeah. No, don't say that.
I'm kidding. No.
So as far as resentment goes, what about today? Do you have, like, can you think of, I mean, I'm sure something creeps up and then you deal with it. But anything recent show up for you?
Yeah. Yeah, some recent stuff. And it has to do with one of my last relationships. And what it was I mean, I'll put it out there. It's ridiculous too, but so I was just in a relationship, got out of a relationship, romantic relationship back in last June.
Yeah.
June 2023. And I got this random call from my ex's kid's dad in November 2023 about, wanting to talk about, how I parented his kid, 9 months before, just out of nowhere. And it was a boundary that was crossed. And so I informed her about it.
The boundary was him reaching out to you?
Him reaching out to me. We never really ever talked about anything.
Yeah.
Unless I had his child to bring to him to say, hey, let's meet up. Let's schedule something.
Right, I got you.
So, and I let her know about it and just find out from a conversation that seemed like she already knew. And I felt really hurt about that. And and that's the resentment's not there. It's not on her, and it's honestly on him because I said that I'm only going to communicate through her, and because that's how we always communicated.
Well, yeah.
Right. And
it's appropriate.
Right. And he didn't like that. So he said, I'm going to pull out a restraining order on you. And the reality was he never did. It was just like this manipulation tactic. And so I set a boundary, right?
Yeah.
And I blocked him. I completely blocked her. And the effort was to hopefully maintain some sort of friendship with her because I've never been able to maintain friendships with old relationships. And it was always like, F you, screw
So
you.
that was the motive of like staying in contact with her? It was just to see if you can have friendship?
Just to be cordial people.
Yeah.
In the Fellowship of Narcotics Anonymous, where I live at. And I after that happened, I said, you know what, this has exhausted all efforts for you and I to have any conversation whatsoever. So I feel a little bad for you, but it is what it is. And I hope you have a good life. And it was hard to do, but it was necessary. And I've been at peace ever since. But the whole thing is like, I resent him.
Right.
I don't go places where, like, when I have a choice to go to this meeting or that meeting, and I know it's like that's either her home group or I'm going to go this way, like I'm going to choose something different.
Yeah.
Or this, this meeting, like where she could be. I have choices. If I didn't have a choice, I would go there.
Yeah.
But I choose to just do something the easier way.
That's happened to me recently.
Okay.
Like, I've made the choice to go to a different meeting.
Yeah.
Than go to some meeting that I know I'll be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Or feel threatened.
And I don't want to put myself in that situation.
Yeah.
Place myself there to be like,
I'm an adult. I could make choices of my own. I could have chosen to stay or go. Right?
And I don't know if anyone ever really sees him around. He's kind of one of those NA loiterers, just saying, Yeah,
we don't need to talk about him.
But yeah.
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 But I get that resentment.
But there's that active resentment of like it was dirty how it went down. Stay away from me.
Yeah.
And I have some core set of meetings with some awesome people in Tucson who I love dearly, and I just stay away from all that, and it's.
So that's the only thing you can think of today about like an active resentment?
That's active for sure. But everything else I've made peace with.
So looking back now, is it kind of cool to see like your list of resentments when you first got clean? Because you fired off a bunch, right?
Yeah.
And then you're struggling to find more than one resentment today.
Yeah.
That's huge.
That one serious one.
Yeah.
And
that's going to pass.
Yeah, I've made amends with some ugly relationships in the past, and they were bad.
Yeah.
And I had like a very heavy part in those relationships, and and we're at peace with each other, and it's beautiful.
It's kind of cool that the more that you apply the principles of the program to your life, that you kind of lose those character defects or those resentments or whatever.
Right.
So today, are you still dealing with any consequences of some of your actions?
Actions of being clean or actions of when I was
It
loaded?
could be both. Like, do you have anything? Like, obviously you don't have any court cases pending or anything like that. You don't have any fear of law enforcement.
No, it's awesome.
So anything that you're still dealing with consequences for? I can tell you one for myself is health. You know,
Right.
I'm still dealing with consequences that I make poor choices.
I mean, there's a whole list of consequences based on other different levels of addiction.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's talk about sugar. You know what I'm saying? Sugar, right?
I do know what you're saying.
But dental stuff, you know, and some of the dental stuff that I'm struggling with consequences around is based on habits that I never practiced when I was younger,
Yeah.
right? Like I have some,
Did you ever have dental stuff, consequences from like meth?
no, I knocked my teeth out when I was 13 years old,
Yeah.
skateboarding at Cameron Park Skate Park. I also tore my ACL there in July 2023, so I don't skateboard anymore. Trying to pull a Tony Hawk's pro skater didn't not work out. But I knocked my teeth out and they put them back in, and then eventually I got implants and implant teeth and all that, and crowns, and so that's going good, and I had a lot of work from that. But just the aversion from wanting to go to the dentist is like, I didn't go to the dentist from 2021 to early 2024.
So poor choices,
Poor choices.
right? So you're picking up the tab for that.
Yeah, I think I need like 7 crowns.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot.
So going through that process, does it trigger anything with you now about changing your decisions?
Oh yeah, like
Going forward?
Yesterday I woke up and I was like, you know what? I need to take advantage of my and take care of this dental stuff ASAP before I put the 2 weeks in at my current job, because I have badass insurance right now.
Oh yeah, so you should.
Yeah, because I got 2 crowns right here on the left side of my mouth, top and bottom, that need to get done. And they said if it gets too close to the nerve, that they won't be able to do it. Mm-hmm. So there's some decay between some teeth.
So you're taking care of it.
I'm today's Sunday, so Monday I'm gonna call.
But you have plans.
I got plans.
Yeah.
I woke up yesterday and I was just like, it needs to happen.
Yeah, so
Soon.
you're actively taking care of the consequences that you've had for poor choices. Yeah, I get it.
I'm getting there. Like, it's just like I'm there.
Yeah.
I just need to do it.
So talking about your relationships,
Yeah.
what about the fears that you have now? Do they affect the way you interact in relationships?
So
The fears of what past consequences with your relationships?
from like romantic relationships.
Yeah, it could be, or for other ones.
So I've learned through levels of honesty in romantic relationships, right? Like, I mean, from the like, there was always that one little thing that I wouldn't tell you about,
Yeah.
right? That was just like whoever it was, and most likely the girlfriend at the time, or the significant other at the time. There was just that one thing I was holding on to that I didn't want to tell you about. And it would just eat me alive.
Was there shame and guilt around it?
There was shame
Yeah.
and guilt around it, I mean, some of it was around like porn and like masturbating and stuff like that. Some of it was around like being the abuser in an abusive relationship before, And so I learned, like, I held back stuff, right? And then, the last relationship I was in, like, I told everything up front.
Really?
Yeah. And,
Wow.
And she was okay with that. And it flourished and it was good, And this most current relationship that I'm in, awesome woman. My sponsor actually introduced us.
Your sponsor hooked you up?
My sponsor hooked me up. Well, the cool thing, the beautiful
That's not
thing
his
is,
responsibility, though.
it's not. But the beautiful thing is like, I trust my sponsor with my life,
Yeah.
and she trusts my sponsor with her life.
Oh, that's cool.
They have a good relationship,
Right on.
and he moved here to Phoenix, like she always welcomed him, So, and I told her everything off the bat, and
That's cool.
like, she's a nurse. I tried to gross her out and it didn't work, like,
Yeah.
she's tough.
That's awesome.
Doesn't mess around, and when it comes to boundaries and principles, on it.
So there was a lot of experience in old relationships that you look back and the fear about not giving up everything.
Yeah, it would it would step up. Like I would take
keep
one
a little bit more
step forward and one more step forward to like really open up all of that
cool
stuff. You know what I'm saying?
That's pretty cool. So now you're just open book.
I'm open book. I've told it all.
No shame and no guilt.
No shame, no guilt.
In fact, we get to laugh at it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because we've had some laughs before,
right,
about some of the crazy stuff.
Yeah,
that's pretty funny.
Like some of the stuff I felt like I would be like completely alone with. Like I was the only one that dealt with this or had this thing, you know, or whatever it was, you know.
Yeah.
I told it all within the first like month and a half. We've been together about like 4 months.
That's pretty cool.
And she's like, cool. All right.
Man, you're courageous.
It's taken time.
Yeah. Well, we learn, right?
It's taken time. Yeah. It's really taken experience and time and like, okay, that didn't work. Well, maybe just a little more, you know? And the reality is like I've talked to people since my breakup from last summer and in 2023 to like now. I talked to a couple of people, you know, between me and my current other half. And I told them everything and they were just like, oh my gosh, like I wasn't expecting that. That was a little too much. Like, I gotta see you later, bye. And I was like, I guess that's not the right person.
Yes.
You know, it's like trial and error, you know, and
yeah, I like that policy. Like, you know, if they can accept you for whatever's in your past or current or whatever, and still want to hang out with you,
yeah,
those are some good people,
right?
Yeah,
right.
That's who I have surrounded myself with. Is my friends are like, oh, you know, like poor Kevin, he's like acting out right now. Maybe we'll say something,
right?
Yeah,
exactly.
And that's very cool. So what about your spirituality? Like, do you have, and you know, the podcast is open for you to talk about it. Do you have like something going on?
So I remember like spirituality when spirituality versus religion and all that kind of stuff, you know, and like
the same story when we first come in the rooms.
Yeah. Right. And like my parents, when I was really little, like they tried to take me to church. Like I was running around like a little madman. It didn't work, and they never went back. There's like never again. We're not doing that. You know, I don't remember what kind of church it was, but it was church. I remember it was church, right? So I got involved with like a youth group, right, at a church in El Dorado Hills.
What age?
17-ish.
Oh, no kidding.
I mean, it was a girlfriend at the time.
Oh, there you go. Okay, Joey.
Older in there,
I was thinking, like, what would motivate you to get involved with that?
16, 17, you know? It was what everyone was kind of doing too, but she was doing it too, and with her friends, whatever. And then the following year, like, it was like 2 years, I got baptized, right? And then went to Mexico to build, you know, on a mission.
Went on mission, yeah.
To build some houses down there.
Okay, that's admirable.
It was awesome, you know? And so it was Christian. And I got baptized Christian, you know, and I struggle to have, you know, because now like my spirituality is surrounded with like if that group of addicts can do it, I can do it, right? Because behind that church thing, I went to the church and I saw like people getting clean on Sundays, but on a planet throughout the week. Like these people who I was hanging out with, like we were saying this stuff. But I'd see them on a Thursday or Friday somewhere in the community, and it just wasn't matching up. And I was like, that doesn't make sense.
Right.
I don't understand this. And I don't feel welcomed when I see you, or like you're not the same person that we're claiming to be on Sunday. It's just not picking up. And I've kept that within me about religion.
Right.
If I ever went back to a religion or gained some spirituality within a religion, it would most likely be Christianity. You know what I'm saying? I kind of strayed away from any spirituality with the religion of Christianity. So, but I baptized Christian. I'm Christian. But when I don't practice it though. So when I came to Narcotics Anonymous, I saw like, you know, again, women, but I saw these women, these old timer women, and they had, you know, tattoos, Harleys, 8 to 10 of them together. I was like, that's a support group.
Yeah.
And then I was like, if that's what a support group looks like, I think that's what my support group needs to look like. And I was like, if that meeting can stay clean, I can stay clean. They're supporting themselves. And people said, your support group doesn't necessarily need to look like 8 to 10 people. And then I realized, like that if that person can stay clean and that group of people can stay clean, I can stay clean. So it's really been like
Your spirituality got
the spirituality behind like the power of the meeting. You know what I'm saying?
Good.
The power of the group.
Right. Yeah.
So like if those people can do it, I can do it.
So you kind of put your faith in the room, the program,
Right.
and the fellowship.
Right.
Yeah, I get that.
Right.
Me too.
And I mean, and I still do. I most recently did it with another member here in Tucson.
Yeah.
And which will lead me into my current dream career that I've always wanted.
That's pretty cool.
Like I was like, if that I can do it, I can do it.
So do you practice any kind of spiritual process? Like I know this is the 4-Step podcast, but what about, do you do prayer and meditation?
I do. So every morning I get up, usually get up, I go start the coffee pot, open the blinds, let the breeze come through my house. Now, or in the winter, I typically don't do that, but I sit at the table and I pray.
So you have a routine.
I have a routine. I pray. I put my hands to my forehead and I pray. And then I say prayer. Essentially, it's kind of like, higher power. I call him God, but God, thank you for this day. And please give me the power to carry out your will and knowledge of your will and the power to carry that out.
That's a good one.
Just allow me to be a better person than I was yesterday kind of thing, And then I read the Just for Today. I read the Spiritual Principle Day, and then I do a gratitude list. And then my meditation comes in feeling for those answers in the quiet.
Nice.
And I have there's this, so in Tucson, when you're looking north, right? Because part of my house looks north, you're looking at the Catalina Mountains.
Okay.
And there's this rock up there called Finger Rock, and it looks like a number one finger, holding up like a number one. So I'm looking at Finger Rock right in front of me, right? It's about 3 to 4 miles away, and the mountain range right in front of me. And just kind of meditating and feeling the breeze.
So you kind of get connected to a little bit of nature. Is that kind of a...
Yeah. The birds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little modality of like Mother Nature.
Peace in the quiet with myself.
I love it. That's super cool.
I also have the picture you gave me of, through prayer and meditation.
Oh, yeah?
That picture with the...
No kidding.
Yeah, it's above my stove. There's a window there.
Yeah.
Sitting in the window above my
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. All right, well, we're at the time of this podcast where you're going to tell your story.
Yeah.
That one story.
That one crazy
story.
Which one do you want?
I don't know. You pick one.
I shared about a couple of them, but so the darkest time of using was like, and I'll share about a dark time and a kind of crazy time,
Yeah.
So there's two of them, but the darkest time was, being stuck in my room, just smoking meth, watching porn, masturbating all night, like being covered in Vaseline from my belly button down to my knees. You're searching in the carpet for rocks.
Yeah.
Naked.
And you're at your parents' house.
At my parents' house. Like locked up in that thing till like 2:00 in the afternoon. Like the doors barricaded, and they're like, "What are you doing there?" I was like, "Don't worry about it," and the blinds are closed, and my dad's going off, to feed the animals around the yard and stuff like that. And it's just
and you're in like full blown psychosis.
Yeah, full blown. Just
do you
getting my weirdo on? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. You're not alone. What about can you remember back to that time and remember the feeling, your gut-wrenching feeling? Were you like just eaten up inside?
Guilt and shame.
Yeah?
Guilt and shame from them finding out, like seeing me, but finding out like, whatever I'm doing, which, as addicts, we're the last ones to know. They knew. Mm-hmm. They probably didn't know what the substance was, but I knew something weird was going on.
Yeah. So that guilt and shame, did it just create that cycle? Just you have to get high to not feel that guilt and shame over and over again?
I'd say so. Yeah. Yeah, most likely. Because I mean, and there wasn't enough dope to get me high.
That's a common theme.
Straight pipe drunk, you know? Pipe burns on my chest, you know? I got scars from pipe burns on my chest.
Yikes.
You know, slippery hands. It's weird stuff. Like, you know, and, you know, I searched my whole room. Mind you, there was like a queen-size bed in there, but I searched that carpet for 3 hours, middle of the night.
Yeah.
Headlight and all, bro.
All right.
Headlight and all. Got down on it. So then there was, and so the next story is just like, it's just a super spun out story. And it also describes like the depths of addiction as well as like, and I mean, like the story of when I got arrested, you know, and then in the gas station, like that's just kind of some weird tweaker shit, you know, tweaker stuff. But there was this empty property, that property where my mom said I should move the weed plants to.
Yeah.
There was an empty property and it was all leveled out before. Now there's like, you know, like some trailer park people that kind of live there. They have trailers and junk everywhere.
Okay.
They're 10-acre parcels.
Yeah,
in
yeah.
my parents' neighborhood. And so, but it was a flat, leveled out piece of land, right? And I found out that the gate was unlocked, you know, in my addiction. So I'd go up there in the middle of the night, and I wanted to go home, but I couldn't go home. I was within 500 feet of home, and I couldn't go home.
Yikes.
And I found that I could lock this gate. I'd be on a private property, and I could get as high as I wanted for as long as I wanted, and no one would know until daylight. And I took off in daylight because my parents would probably see me over there. Well, I kind of like parked in this little easeway, so like they would have to come over on the property to close to see me. They wouldn't be able to see me, but like I disappeared in the middle of the, you know, in the early mornings I took off, you know. So I parked in this hill, and like my car was stuck. I couldn't get my car out, and I was spinning my wheels and stuff like that, right? And I decided on this little tweaker expedition, you know. I call it expedition.
That's a horrible start.
Try an expedition because it's kind of weird, but I want to go on that little expedition, right? With my pipe, my dope, and a backpack, you know. So I got out the car and left the car there for a little while and went on this expedition and walked. And it was like I was like hiding from nothing, right? So I walked down the driveway, this muddy driveway of this property, and went across the road and went up into the trees and was like hiding like behind the trees, like Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, like Johnny Depp, you know, back then, like dodging the bats in the beginning. I was like dodging like whatever I was dodging in the middle of the day.
Yeah.
And I remember walking up the road and I was hiding behind this bush. And I was so close to home, but I couldn't go home. And I was watching my dad feed his animals across the road. I was about 150 feet away. He was talking to his animals, wondering where his son was at as I'm in this bush 200 feet away, smoking dope.
That's crazy.
And it was deep. And I'll never forget it, you know? And I just couldn't go home.
Just because of the fear?
Yeah.
The shame and guilt.
The shame and guilt of being gone for a couple days or so. And where are you at? And having to answer questions. I didn't want to answer questions.
Oh, that's horrible.
Answer questions.
That gives me the creeps, man.
It's sad.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, there were also other times where, you know, like my car got stuck over there. I had to go jump my car and did a tweaker expedition in the middle of the night and stole a generator from my parents' house and lifted it over a fence, and with a pea coat on in the middle of winter, I'm sweating and about to black out, and it's 32 degrees out.
And you're high as a kite.
High as a freaking kite. And, you know, and my parents come out the next day and the generator's gone, and there's
Mm.
extension cords running all over the property.
Oh my God.
weird stuff, like,
Yeah.
Because I had to get the car jump to get it going, and just, but nothing tops, smoking dope in the bush, 200 feet away from my dad, 150 feet, 200 feet, as he's talking to his goats, and he's living just normal life. Like,
Yeah, and you couldn't even go to him and say,
I couldn't go back to life.
Yeah.
I was just right there, but I couldn't.
God, I could feel that desperation, degradation.
Oh yeah,
It's horrible.
and it was just a weird time.
I'm glad you're clean, man.
Thank you, man. It's been the biggest gift I've ever been able to,
Yeah,
have, being clean.
yeah. Well, I appreciate you coming out, and love you, Joey.
Love you too. Thank you.
This has been a lot of fun.
This has been a lot of fun. That's awesome.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for listening.
Thank you for listening, and we hope you enjoyed the episode. Often you will hear addicts referring to a specific 12-step program or rehab. These are personal stories. We do not represent any of the programs.